That night, as the full moon rose again, Ethan's mother, worried about her son's strange behavior, decided to stay awake and keep an eye on him. As she watched from the doorway of his room, she saw it. The horrifying transformation. Her sweet boy twisted and contorted into the monstrous figure that had haunted the village. Her heart broke, but she knew she had to act quickly. The beast within. In a small village nestled at the foot of Misty Mountains lived a young boy named Ethan. Ethan was playful, curious, and always helpful, like any other 12-year-old. He lived with his mother in a modest cottage at the edge of the village, surrounded by fields where the villagers kept their cattle. Ethan's days were filled with simple joys, running through the meadows, helping his mother with chores, and playing with his friends. But as night fell, something strange and terrifying occurred, though Ethan had no idea. Lately, the village had been plagued by a mysterious creature that roamed the night. Each morning, the villagers would awaken to find their cattle missing, torn apart, or simply vanished. They called it the Beast. No one knew where it came from, or why it targeted the village, but the attacks always happened under the cover of darkness. Ethan had heard the stories, but he didn't think much of them. After all, how could a beast exist in their quiet village? But as the attacks became more frequent, the villagers grew fearful and suspicious. They organized nightly patrols, trying to catch a glimpse of the monster, but no one ever saw anything, only the carnage left behind. One evening, after a particularly unsettling day of missing cattle, Ethan felt strangely tired. He went to bed early, his body heavy with exhaustion. That night, under the full moon, something within him changed. His bones began to shift, his skin rippled, and his mind clouded over. The gentle boy transformed into a monstrous figure, towering and menacing. His senses sharpened, and the scent of the village cattle filled his nostrils. Without knowing, Ethan the boy had become the very beast that terrorized the village. In this monstrous form, he stalked the night, driven by instincts he couldn't control. He tore through fences, devoured cattle, and left chaos in his wake. But come morning, as the sun rose, his body returned to that of a boy, and he woke in his bed, unaware of the horrors that had transpired during the night. Days turned into weeks, and the attacks continued. Ethan couldn't understand why he felt so tired every morning, nor why the villagers looked more and more afraid. One morning, as he walked through the village, he overheard a conversation between the elders. "The beast strikes only when the moon is full," one elder whispered, "and always near the same place, close to the boy's house." "Do you think it could be someone from the village?" asked another elder, casting a suspicious glance toward Ethan's direction. Ethan's heart raced. Could it be true? Could the beast be someone he knew? That night, as the full moon rose again, Ethan's mother, worried about her son's strange behavior, decided to stay awake and keep an eye on him. As she watched from the doorway of his room, she saw it. The horrifying transformation. Her sweet boy twisted and contorted into the monstrous figure that had haunted the village. Her heart broke, but she knew she had to act quickly. The next morning, Ethan awoke to find his mother sitting beside his bed, her eyes filled with sadness and fear. She told him everything she had seen. Ethan was horrified. How could he, an innocent boy, become the beast that had terrorized his village? I didn't know, Ethan whispered, tears welling up in his eyes. I had no idea. His mother held him close, trying to comfort him, but they both knew that something had to be done. They couldn't let the beast inside him continue to harm the village. Together, they sought the help of an old hermit who lived deep in the mountains. The hermit was known for his knowledge of ancient curses and remedies. After listening to Ethan's story, the hermit nodded gravely. You are under a curse, the hermit explained. A curse that binds you to the moon's cycle. At night, the beast takes over, but there is hope. The curse can be broken, but only by an act of pure sacrifice. Ethan knew what he had to do. He couldn't let the villagers suffer any longer. That night, as the full moon rose once more, Ethan and his mother led the beast away from the village, deep into the mountains where no one lived. Ethan's mother, with tears streaming down her face, stood by as the boy transformed once again into the creature of the night. But this time, the villagers were safe. Ethan had chosen to leave everything he knew behind to protect them. He never returned to the village, and over time, the attacks stopped. The villagers never knew what had happened to the beast, only that it had disappeared just as mysteriously as it had come. As for Ethan, no one knows what became of him. Some say he still roams the mountains, fighting the curse that lies within. Others believe he finally found peace, free from the beast's grasp. But the village remembers him as the boy who sacrificed everything to save them from the monster that lurked within. He never returned to the village, and over time, the attacks stopped. The villagers never knew what had happened to the beast, only that it had disappeared just as mysteriously as it had come. As for Ethan, no one knows what became of him. Some say he still roams the mountains, fighting the curse that lies within. Others believe he finally found peace, free from the beast's grasp. But the village remembers him as the boy who sacrificed everything to save them from the monster that lurked within.